Hey, good evening,
Good
good
evening. Don't say good
Wednesday.
morning.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome to Soap PM style evening.
Soap at night.
Soap at night. Don't say that. That sounds weird. All right, so let me just clarify if you're joining for the first time. SOAP is our Bible reading plan, scripture, observation, application, and prayer. So, because Soap at night sounded nice. Leave it at that. So if you are here, if you are joining, let us know
Say
in the comments. Say hi
hi.
in the comments so we know you're here. Typically, when Darlene's with me in the morning, we're scrambling. She's dropping kids off
You
to school.
usually don't see me right away.
Nope. And so,
Usually, sometimes for 5 minutes. Sometimes.
yeah, we were just noticing that in our camera, for whatever reason, is making our skin look really
Especially
soft.
back here. When you're up further, I can see my wrinkles.
Yeah, like I have all kinds of wrinkles and stuff here, and I don't see them. It's making me look young. It's like a facelift.
Do you know if you have it on the right chat thing?
It says Facebook and YouTube.
Oh, there
Boom.
they are. Woohoo! Go, Mary. Your hair.
Mary's
Hi,
here.
Mary.
Yeah, it's a little different. People log in a little later. It's just showing up. I was nervous for a minute.
Gene Inspirational.
Gene Inspirational.
Or G Inspirational?
G Inspirational.
Who are you?
Yeah, welcome.
It says E, though.
Yeah. I'm not sure who that is.
Hi, Robin.
I've never seen that one before. But welcome.
Yeah.
Robin, good
I'm
evening.
really curious. I hope they tell us who they are.
Yeah. Because you can be anywhere from the world, anywhere.
Yeah.
Me and Pastor Amanda were talking earlier. Pastor Matt was looking for some cable, and he goes, "Does anybody know where this is at?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's some bins. There might be some cables in there, the little white rolly shelves." And like Pastor Amanda, she's gonna order all the furniture upstairs from like IKEA. She's like, "It's the rolling Kalex cart, whatever." I'm like, "Who in the world knows that?" But she knew it.
She knew.
And so we started talking about that, about Swedish people and other weird names and stuff.
Swedish.
Yeah, IKEA. Do you guys shop at IKEA? Let me know if you shop at IKEA. You ever go to IKEA?
That's our question for
It's a weird place. You go there and like, here's your furniture. Now go home and build it. It's kind of like a place I like to go called Black Rock. It's like a steak place. Like they basically like give you a slab of like raw meat. Like here, cook your own meat at your table.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Good evening, Jen.
But yeah, IKEA's that kind of same way. So here's your furniture. Now go down to the warehouse. It's going to be in a flat box. Then you got to push these carts that spin all four wheels up close. Like, who does that? They're all casters. Like, you're trying to push it straight. And you're like going all over the place,
Banging
bumping the thing. Yeah. Like, is that really what they do in Sweden? I think they just
made it work.
I think they just do it to laugh at us. Like, look at all those guys pushing those cars.
This is what we do to the Americans.
Got them. Yeah. But anyways, and then you go home and you build these little Allen wrenches, and you kind of follow the little pictures.
Yeah, it holds up really good. The furniture we bought from there.
It has been good. It's not as cheap as it used to be.
Inexpensive, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, not as expensive. Not as
inexpensive.
Yeah. It's more expensive, like everything.
Yeah.
I felt like a dad yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago? Darlene let me know. She's like, "Hey, gas is it's $3.99, but it's $3.44 if you go to Myers and Walmart." And I was like, "All right." And so when I went and got gas, and I was pumping my gas, and like, I'm going to share this with the staff. So I got the staff chat. I'm like, "Hey guys, if you haven't got gas yet, it's $3.44 at Myers and Walmart."
Why does it make you feel like a dad?
Cause it's like, all right, Dad. I don't know. It's like weird thing.
Save the money.
It's like a weird thing a dad would say.
It went up 50 cents overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
get started soon.
We'll get started in a minute.
Yeah.
If you're here, let us know. Right now we see 4 of you guys on here, and I tell you what, we're gonna have soap.
Yeah. It's a great passage tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great passage.
Yeah, Robin says it's $3.99 now.
Yeah.
My truck too. My truck takes like 36 gallons, so it's like it's costly when it's up there. So that extra whatever 50 cents you saved me was huge.
55 cents actually.
A gallon. So
per gallon.
Times 36.
Yeah, but you weren't on empty yet. Well, you might have been close actually because you went down to Toledo twice.
Yeah, I've been in the hospital a couple times. So I was pretty low.
Yeah.
But
it's Ellen. Oh. That's why there's an E on her little profile.
Got it. Hey, Ellen. So yeah, hopefully you guys, some of you guys may be double dipping. You guys are watching in the morning and the evening. I've been trying to catch it. If I don't catch it live, try to catch one or the other, for what I didn't catch. It's kind of cool to hear other staff members. I listened a little bit to Pastor Megan, a little bit. I didn't get all of it. Just the beginning part. Hopefully we're not too similar. She's been doing kind of a different thing where she's reading through and asking questions ahead of time and then coming back, which I actually like the way she's doing it, that format, because sometimes the chat is so slow that by the time we ask a question, we're already move on to event thoughts. So she's been kind of asking questions, prompting that ahead of time, and then coming back to it. And so I might do a little bit of that this evening too. I think it's just a good way of doing it. But yeah, so it's 8:06. We're gonna jump in because I know what's gonna happen. Time's gonna get away from us.
Yeah.
And we have to go get our kids. They're at youth group tonight. So Darling, it's a fireplace going. You can't see it, but it's right over there.
It's so cold out right now.
It is cold.
So I had to turn the fireplace on.
But this camera really is crazy because like it's not even showing my head wrinkles.
Took 10 years off of you.
Showing the gray though.
Yeah.
That can't fix that.
The light is reflecting off of those.
Shining. All right, so we're in Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. Yes. And before we read that, let me set a couple things up real quick. So Paul's writing, he's in prison. Go figure, right? It seems like Paul's always in prison. Paul's in prison, and the Church of Philippi, is that how you would say it?
That's how I would say it.
You know, they're doing well, they're doing okay, but they're dealing with some things, you know, within the church, within the body, dealing with some tension and unity. And so we're going to talk about that here as we read this. But it's really talking about how these believers kind of relate to each other. And I'll say this, unity can be hard, even within the context of the church. Unity can be difficult, you know, although we have the same mindset, the same purpose, the same, you know, read the same Bible, the same kind of heart, but we're different people, right? We have different ways how we approach things, different backgrounds. It's been interesting with me the last few years working at Bethany. I've been in ministry 26 years, something like that. I don't know what it is, but I've been a lot of smaller churches and things where it's like usually there's not a whole lot of staff. It's like being the senior pastor and then a lot of volunteers or whatever. This is the first church where I've been. We have like a lot of staff, and so like I mean, just a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities and a lot of different ways of doing things, and so even that like we are unified, right? We're a great team and staff, but it's hard even on times where it's like, man, I would have done it that way, or how come they didn't do this or whatever. And I'm sure the same thing they think about me, right? And so it's like unity, you know, it's just it can be difficult because we're just different people. I mean,
well, one of the things, I mean, the way which we get into in the passage, but in order to be unified, like you have to be willing to be humble at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not all about you.
Yeah, exactly. Even on marriage, that's two people, and there's still unity. And
yeah,
it's still
and this passage today really, if we can apply these principles to our lives, in every area of our lives, like it will benefit every area of your lives, right? Like so, in every relationship, whether it's a work relationship, your neighbor relationship, your family relationship as a spouse or as a parent or as a child, in your friendships, it will drastically change those areas.
I know a lot of times I look at you in person, but I wonder when I look at you on the camera there, if that's weird. I'll look at you right now, like in a mirror.
Yeah, it looks like you're looking right down here when you do that.
But hey, I'm looking at you right now. Where does it look like I'm looking at?
Like you're looking like
what? All right, I have to go back and watch it. I'm gonna look at.
Okay, I'm looking at you. How does it look like I'm looking right now? Like it's fine because you're in the middle.
It looks like you're looking at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, that's how it kind of looks because you're looking down below where the camera.
Like it looks. When you look down, look at me. It looks like you're reading the comments below, but they're actually over here. Over here. All right, good to know. Sorry, folks. We got that.
So you gotta try to look at that green light right there.
That's when I look at you guys looking right at the camera, you know, direct. But when I look at you on the camera, I actually look like I'm looking not at you.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Let's jump in. Before we do, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna say you guys a couple questions real quick. Why is unity harder than we expect? I want you guys to think about that. Why is unity harder than we expect? And then what tends to divide people? Like even in good environments, like the church, right? Like we know, like man, we love Jesus, we're one purpose. But what tends to divide people, even in good environments? Because it's easy when there's like opposition, right? Like if I say this, you say that, you know, like, that's easy when there's like polar opposites. But when we're in the same, like kind of why we still get, you know, have a hard time with unity. So I want you to think about that. You can put those in the chat, and we're gonna read. So Philippians 2 verses 1 through 11. Go ahead, Ben.
All right. So if there's any encouragement, I'm going to read from the ESV, English Standard Version. So if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count your others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth. And every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord, to the glory of God the Father.
All right, so let's break this down. We're gonna there's kind of like some major things here. I'm gonna break them down in different sections. But unity, right? Why? I asked you guys earlier. Why is it harder than we expect, and what tends to divide us? I didn't see anything yet in the chat. I think the chat's kind of slow tonight.
I think it's super slow, yeah.
Yeah. So if you might have said something, I apologize. We're just not seeing it yet. But I'm gonna keep moving. If they come up, we'll bring them up. But the first thing, in this passage, like Paul's kind of calling to unity, and he says these kind of key things. He says, "Be like-minded, have the same love, be in one spirit, do nothing out of selfish ambition." He says, "Value others above yourself." And so when you hear those things, being like-minded, have the same love, be in one spirit, do nothing out of selfish ambition, value others above yourself. Are there any phrases? I'll ask you, is there any phrases that stand out to you in those? Like that one sounds kind of hard. That's a difficult one. But
being like-minded.
Being like-minded. What? So what do you mean by that? Like,
well, because we have our own opinions. So like we can have a common mission and a common goal, but sometimes like having the same way of doing that would be what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of anything like
good to see you.
Like I could get 3 builders in here to do something, and they're all gonna have a different opinion. It's all gonna put a door in at the end of the day, but they might have like different approaches. But then it might not be in unity. They can get it all done, but 3 different opinions, 3 different thoughts. So I think some things are left up like interpretation. For example, like in church, right? Some people say it's too loud, it's too quiet, whatever. We're all hearing the exact same thing. But like so some people like that sounds this way, like that sounds this way, that way, or whatever. It could bring, not unity, the opposite of division. For me, when he says, be like-minded, have the same love, be one spirit, do nothing out of selfish ambitions, value others above yourself. Those are hard things to do at times. I have this unique thing. Sometimes people, I don't know, they give me more credit than I deserve, about being nice and different things. We had staff meeting on yesterday, and someone came up and they're like, "All right, so you were good cop, you were a feelings cop, and Pastor Eric, you were a bad cop, you were a feelings cop. Pastor Eric, you were the good cop, you're the good feeling." I'm like, I get dubbed that, whatever. But like there's things like valuing others above yourself, and maybe above yourself. Maybe I don't do that, but like I have this weird thing, and I wish it was like just because I'm such a great guy. It's from my heart. It's just how I am. Like I'm constantly always. Well, it's probably it's 2 things. Like I'm always thinking like, how does the other person think? You know what I mean? Like I'm always like, when I do this, what do they think? And it's good and bad, right? So it's like in my own thing. It's like one of my strengths and weaknesses. It's like, okay, I think I care a lot about what people think about me. I care about what people, my actions, whatever. And so I'm always constantly thinking about how my actions affect other people. Always.
Or we have a label for that.
Or I'm always thinking like, what is it?
People pleasing.
Whatever. But like, you know what I mean? Like and I think it's a good thing. Ultimately, it's a good thing. Like I'm always thinking like, how does it affect somebody? Valuing other people, like it's not hard for me to let somebody else go in front of the line. Now, those are my actions, but in my heart, sometimes when my flesh, my mind, like I could totally like be at Walmart in a super hurry, and like I see like a lady with a shopping cart, or maybe whatever that maybe that. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, whatever. We get the checkout line at the same time. I'm like, go ahead, I'm super nice and friendly. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish this lady would hurry up. I gotta keep moving.
Or you don't mind letting her go, but then when you realize that she's got like 10 coupons and she's going to argue
and the
about
card's
the price
not working,
on her
and she can't get the thing, and
whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have let her go ahead of me.
So like in my actions, sometimes they're right, but sometimes in my head, my flesh, like if I don't be careful, like I can take something that's really good and like it just comes to, I'm like, not. So like I said, people usually give me too much credit for things, like because I am a person, and but like those are like, I don't think about that one. That's one to me on the outside is very natural for me. And you know what? We probably all have things like, I don't want to criticize ourselves. When you read those things like being like-minded, have the same love, being one spirit, do nothing out of selfish ambition, value others by yourself. There's probably one in there that you probably say, like, you know what? I probably struggle with this one, but man, this one's actually pretty natural for me. So I wanted to make that point, just encourage you, like you don't have to beat yourself up. Like some of these things that he's talking about, like, yeah, that's a strong suit of mine, maybe being one spirit. I love being, the other one person. Like I'm a unifier. I had this I'm able to do this thing, or I'm just very compassionate, and I can share that. I can empathize with other people, whatever it may be. There's probably something in there. You think about that. It's probably really strong for you, and probably something that you really struggle with, because we're people. And so I wrote this down. Unity isn't just agreeing. Sometimes we think of unity as like, hey, we're unified. That's not unity. Unity isn't just agreeing. It's actually deeper than that. Actually, humility is actually a huge part of unity.
Yeah.
Being humble, considering others' thoughts, not being selfish, putting others first, kind of the things we just talked about, right? Being willing to listen. If we could take, I'll use an example of politics. I won't get into it, whatever side, left and right. We kind of divide everything left and right, red and blue. But I think if we were actually to have a conversation, not get into the details, we said, hey, do we think that children should be protected? Yes. Do we think that we value other people? Yeah. I mean, if we actually went down the center of that, and actually without getting to the nitpick things, we would probably say, man, we're actually more unified than we think. Right. But we're not. It's not just about agreeing, because they don't agree, right? That's a political thing. Right? We don't agree because there's other things that get in there. But really, if we were to humble ourselves, right? If there's humility and all that, and say, you know what, I don't know if I agree with that part of what you're saying, but I do agree with the overall thought. Like, yes, kids matter. We should protect children. Like, what that means beyond that, let's talk about that. But I'm humble enough to listen to your side of that opinion or the story. It'll be amazing how much more things will move forward, right, in unity. And that's every area of our lives. In a marriage, we got two people, and I'm gonna tell you right now, me and Darlene do not think the same. We have the same common things. We love each other. We love the Lord. We love our kids. We want the best for our children. Whatever it may be, those things are unified. But like the way we do that and the way we think about that is probably not all the same.
Often different.
We're two different people.
Yeah.
They say the true thing, like opposites attract. It's a real thing, right? Like a magnet, positive, negative. And they click. And so like we're two different people. And so the best thing we can do if we want to live in unity isn't just her always agreeing with me or me always agreeing with her. It's really like saying, man, I'm gonna be humble and humility, and like even when I don't necessarily like this part of that, like overall, this is what we're doing. If that makes any sense. I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of that.
Nope. Good.
All right.
No, I mean, as long as you've got a common goal, sometimes we just have to be willing to let our opinion in what the right way of something to do something is. That could be like, let's say we have a common goal of vacuuming a room. I go this way, somebody else goes all the way long, whatever. It got done, right? But if I am so adamant about it being done my way, the way I said, that's not showing humility.
Yeah, and that's why I don't vacuum, because I don't want to upset you. I want you to.
Or because you don't like the sound of the vacuum.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
It makes him so mad. I try not to vacuum when he's home.
That pitch, honestly, it
hurts his ears. He's like the dog.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
She doesn't like it either, but she follows me around whenever I vacuum.
Well,
anyways, that's a whole other thing.
She's nuts. All right. Anyways, but yeah. So
yeah, it's not always about having it done the same way is what, but being humble shows that you can. There's a common goal, and you're willing to
I will say this: agreeing is actually easier than being humble. Like I can be, I'm just gonna go
Oh
with it.
yeah.
Like I'm just gonna agree. I don't, I have other thoughts. I'm gonna, humble myself. Whatever. Agreeing is actually easier than being humble. Like you can have a bad attitude about it and be like, I think you're stupid, but this is what whatever. We're gonna follow your way. Like humbleness is really like they have that humbleness and that part of the heart condition of that. I can say things from my mouth, I can in my mind, but really my heart, like that's the part. It's like, am I really in unity? In the church, are we really unified in this thing? Or are we just saying that because we know overall that's what we're supposed to do? When it's a heart condition, like God humble me, in this, and that's a huge part.
Well, so I have this. Humility is sacrificial. It leads to true unity and ultimately mirrors Christ's path to divine glorification.
Yeah, I like what Robin said here too. I think we need to learn that it's okay to disagree, but still learn how to see things from other people's point of view. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. There's a lot of things I don't agree with, but if I can understand you as a person, understand things that I don't even understand, like there's things that I wrestle to understand and struggle, but I see things. Um, there was something the other day. I was in the garage and the show came on, and I don't even know what it was. I was working on a motorcycle, and it was something that was like I don't know how to say it without sounding, but it was a worldly whatever. And I was like, that's a whole different view, differently than what I believe, and things that like to me, I was like, I just don't like that. But then like I was listening to this person talk about their life, and I was like, although I don't agree with that lifestyle, and I don't agree with what's being said. I've seen the person for who they are. Like, this is a child of God. This is a son. This is a daughter. This is somebody. And like my heart just kind of went out to that, because like I was humbled in that, and I could be unified the fact that they need Jesus just as much as I do, and care for them in that way and love them that way. Although their worldview and different things is probably completely radically different than anything I would think or do. And so like it's humbling to be that in that position, but it's like, God, help me see people the way you see them, and help me live and love people. We're going to talk about that here more in a second. But yeah, unity is not disagreeing. Unity is actually being humble. Humility is actually a huge part of being in unity. And then he talks about this. He kind of talks about all these things. Like, here's what it looks like. And then he's like, I'm going to shift the story now. I'm going to put it on Jesus. So, like, Jesus is going to demonstrate this. And he kind of talks about that in the next part. He says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset of Christ. And so, and he kind of lists out what those things are, right? By Jesus' example, Jesus was God, right? He was God, and he humbled himself and he came to heaven to earth to live among us, to serve us, to die on a cross for us. And so he was God. He came down. He didn't cling on to his rights. He didn't say, "Hey, listen, I am the Messiah. You will bow down and worship me." He didn't. Jesus didn't do that. He was humble. Even to the point when he's leading up to his death, he comes in and riding on that donkey, right? He was not going to be their earthly king, although he had every right to. At any minute, Jesus could be like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this. Like, forget this." You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he humbled himself. He made himself nothing. He became a servant. I think by the time, like even when he like washed the disciples' feet, the lowest of positions, um, I feet to me are just gross anyways, whatever. But like I think with the Bible, like, they're not being washed daily. They're traveling by foot
Well, even if
everywhere.
they were washing them every day when they come into the house,
Like a quick rinse,
it's
whatever. Like it's just like, they're walking through stuff. It's dirty and gross. There's animal stuff on the road. I think about my son. His feet stink bad at like basketball and stuff. I'm like, man, like, but Jesus humbled himself. What a beautiful picture of that. Like, he's taking on position of the least among people, of a servant. He became obedient even to the death on a cross. Like I said, any of that point, Jesus could have been like, yeah, I'm not going to do this like this way. But he humbled himself even to the point of death. And so Paul's taking this thing and saying, hey, listen, we got to be unified. Let's break this tension and be unified. He gives us those examples. And he says, well, look at Christ. This is what Christ did for us. Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God, came from heaven to earth to demonstrate this for us. And so, anyway, any thoughts on that?
Go ahead. We're gonna run out of time.
You have thoughts somewhere else? Before we started, I said, babe, you got things. She goes, usually you just end up talking, even when I have thoughts.
No,
I said, all right.
No, listen. He told me one of his thoughts, and he's like, now don't you speak it because you'll steal my stuff.
Don't steal my line.
And I said, I don't usually have a whole lot of chance to talk anyways. When I do,
but
when I do, my thoughts already passed. Like it was like minutes ago.
All right.
I don't know. Try not to interrupt.
No, you didn't interrupt anytime. I get tired of hearing myself. Um, right. So, anyways, we talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
We get this beautiful example in Christ of what it means to be
Well,
humble, a servant, and to be unified.
yeah, one of the things with having the mindset of Christ is we have to, like you said, we have to remember Christ came down. He set aside his own heavenly rights in order to come down to earth for us. Um, so that's showing complete, like you said, servanthood. Like it's showing complete humility. I mean, what does Paul say? Even death on a cross. Like that was the lowest. Like that was the most embarrassing like way to die, because you were out in front of everybody and naked and whatever on the cross. Um, Christ did that for us. He came from heaven to earth, as a he set aside all of his personal rights. Like he didn't use any of his heavenly powers. I mean, aside
authority,
from doing or
yeah.
authority, yeah, aside from doing miracles. But I mean, like as far as like like you said, he didn't come down and be like, yeah, bow down and worship me, um, and yeah, but he did that to serve others and to ultimately to serve us and to die on the cross for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the next part, so he talks about here's some things we can be in unity. Here's an example of Christ. And then he talks about here's a result of that, right? And he talks about in the verses 9 to 11, he said God exalted him, Christ, gave him the name above all of the names that every knee will bow, right? God exalted him. And so sometimes we feel like we have to do what we need to do to get ahead. We have to do all the work. We have to, it's dog eat dog, right? We have to cut throat, whatever it may be, whatever the terms you want to use. I got to do it. And sometimes the world is that way. I've been in jobs and positions outside the church. I worked many years outside the church and, at the lower positions, but never really cared to try to cut, climb that ladder or whatever, or not by means of like pulling a rug out with somebody else or putting them down or step on somebody else. And I believe that a lot of times where I did get elevated in positions is because I didn't do that. Everybody else was doing this thing, and people just seen that I was simple. I worked hard. I was humble. I didn't try to make a name for myself. I just did my job and did it well. And somebody took notice of that. And I think sometimes in our lives, when we go through things in our lives, when we want we don't have that unity because we want our thoughts, our opinions, our things to be above everybody else. We got to remember everything we just read about today. Take that position of humbleness, and then let God exalt us. Let God do what He's going to do. I wrote these two things down. I had this visual picture when I was driving home from Clinton today. Like if you've ever been to the mall or airport, you got the steps and you have like an escalator. And like you watch people are different, for me, sometimes I like to take the steps because it's faster. I mean, I could probably run up the steps or, it's a little bit of exercise, but, but I had that visual in my mind. Like that's kind of how we are at times when we're not humble. We want to get there faster. We'll take the steps. We'll do the work. I'm self-made. I'll do what I need to do. And I think often what God wants us to be like, He wants us. And I had these two words. I said, you can step up or you can step in. You can step up and doing your own thing, or step into what God's going to do. It's like that escalator. Like you can step in to what God's going to do and let God elevate you. Right? Like I can do all the work. I can grind myself on the steps, or I can step in that escalator. From the very the humble beginning, and let God just elevate me to whatever that thing is next in my life. And I think it's a visual for us. Yeah, like there are things we do, right? We have goals, we have ambitions, we have things we need to do, but like when it comes to unity and us being together, like to put those things aside and let God kind of work that out. Find that middle ground. Here's what I found in life: politics, religion, money, you name it. Like there's always these extremes always calling at us, far extremes. And what I've always find is this: is we can find the center, the balance of all that. And it's not weird. It's not. It's not like new agey. But when we find the balance of those things, there's usually that's where the common things are at, right? When you're in the center, you're the closest to each other when you're in the center, right? Whatever two extremes, when there's that center point, that's the closest you are to either side. There's something about that, and I think that comes through being humble. And so, as we go through life, coworkers, relationships with people at church, neighbors, whoever it may be, like finding that common ground, that middle spot, and be humble enough to understand what that is, and bringing that unity, it just takes things so much further. But yeah, uh, I don't know. I just about horses. I don't know why. I love about horses like pulling a carriage. If one horse was pulling this way and one horse is pulling that way, you're not going to get anywhere, right? They're just going to pull that carriage is going to be sitting there and be pulled both ways. But if both those horses are in the middle and they're pulling straight, man, there's power behind that. And so that's what we need to get to. I think the move things. We got to find this unity, and it's important. And it's important in our relationships. So we can step up on your own or step into what God's doing. Let God elevate us. That's what he's doing. I like what Robin said here. She said, "This morning when I first got to work, I ran into a coworker who was well known for being difficult to get along with. Still, I was friendly to her because the thought popped in my head. Yes, she's difficult to get along with, but she's still loved by God, just like you are loved by God. Yeah, it helps. I had a hard conversation the other day. I had a phone call with
I
a
was just
lady.
thinking about that when Robin posted that.
I had a phone call with a lady. I won't get to the details. Not from church, not a church lady, but somebody who's kind of pretty connected to something. And she was not very pleasant. I mean, she was right. I never met her, and they from the get go pop, 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 just jab, 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 like not friendly. I would say something, and she would turn to something else, and like every time she would do that, I would just tell how